single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day.
And we're rolling. So, hi. My name is Jessica, and I am doing this channel so I can help other people, other veterans, other retired people, their families, of course, because half the time our loved ones pick up the slack when we're not around, and they're the ones that actually have helped us to help ourselves be successful. So with that said, they also need to know that there are resources for them as well. Anyhow, so you want to know how to get a VA claim started. You did not do any of the transition assistance program. You have no idea what I'm talking about. What is the 38 CFR? What am I going to do? All right, so too easy. First things first. Everything in this day and age has pretty much converted over to digital technology. The VA was really slow in the game. A lot of that was due to changes in policy, and one of those can be attributed to the Affordable Care Act in upgrading all of our systems and ensuring that they're upgraded to electronic sources, because so many times we've heard, especially with our older vets, that their paperwork, their documents, their medical records have what? Burned. They're freaking water damaged. Nobody can find them. So this was a great implementation, but it took some time. So with that being said, the first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get a Ebenefits account. I mean, you can go through a veteran service officer or that organization to start all of this, and they can kind of help guide you a little bit more. But for you to check on any application status, if you need to add documents, if you want to be like me and not depend on other people because you're hard-headed and stubborn, then you need this account. And I'm going to be sharing some of the screenshots and uploads so you can understand what it is that I'm talking about. So you're going to have a DS login. If you don't have a CAT card, which is your common access card that those that are still active duty, reserve, National Guard, so on and so forth, they have those little chip reader cards. That's a CAT card. Your DS login is going to be something that you as a veteran that may have no additional military commitment, you have that DS login, so you can just type it in. That's actually what I use. I don't use my CAT card. I don't use any of that. It's easier. You can access a ton of different websites that way, and I'll have I will have an episode on all of the other, the ID Me and all of these other secure methods of logging in and retrieving information that are available to all of us. So, all right. Ebenefits. Ebenefits is how the VA can give you notifications. You can track all of your claims, upload your documents. If you want to see your past claims, if you want to see where they're at in this process, if you want to access Voc Rehab, do you know what vocational rehab is? Do you know that after 30% that you're eligible for one of really 4 tracks of assistance that are provided to you? If you're in a situation like myself where you already had a bachelor's degree, you are way overqualified for whatever the Nashville marketplace wants to hire you for, and they tell you that, and they're sure that you're going to be bored because your expertise is up here. Unfortunately, when you say, my bills don't get bored, it doesn't matter. They want someone that's old and that may die in that position. Anyhow, so I had to utilize Voc Rehab. Additionally, they can fund additional education if you are beyond your GI Bill uses, if that's already been eaten up. They can help you, like me, I have a lot of musculoskeletal issues, so standing desk, things to make you successful at work. If you need dragon speak, if you need whatever it is, if you need a consult because your medications have been hijacked by referrals that are taking 17 years, if you're it doesn't matter what it is. The vocational rehab counselor, they are all like legit master's degree people. I have the best one, but she's totally overbooked. So anyhow, well, I had her. I've already used her services. But anyhow, they are professionals that are often veterans that are here to make sure that we can work. There's a bunch of additional tracks that are more than just the education, more than just the employment modification assistance, and I'll go into that later. So on Ebenefits, you have access to all of this, your education benefits, life insurance. You can print any of your letters that verify that you are a veteran with 100%, 30%, whatever the case is. For me, I got hired with the state of Tennessee. So I printed a lot of my documents from there in addition to submitting my DD-214 and whatever else I submitted. So I could get credit for my service, and so I could also be like, you know, one of the few, one of the proud, one of the hired. Because, you know, that preference is real. So, Ebenefits, you've got to sign on to that. That's going to be your first step. And it's probably going to be your first aggravation, honestly. So, you're just going to Google E, as in the letter E, Echo, and then Benefits, Benefits, Ebenefits, and I'll have a link below to all of this stuff. And then it's going to ask you all the way down at the bottom, if you don't have a DS login, if you don't have a CAT card, you are going to need to register. Are you registered? And then you're going to click on one of the register here links or whatever, and you're going to be taken through the screens that you need to be taken through. So, too easy, right? Too easy. Okay, from there, we're on to Ebenefits. It's great. It's wonderful. Do you have your DD-214? Do you have it? If you don't, we can access that for you. The VA has a link where you can actually just click to access your records. That's going to be super duper important. So that is number 2. Number 3, do you have your medical records? Do you have all of them? Do you have some of them? Do you need to request them? You need to request them. You're going to have copies of all of that stuff. If you don't have any of your medical records from the military, that's cool. You can order them. Have you only been seen by a primary care manager or your primary care doctor since you've been out and everything just went to hell in a handbasket? Too easy. So we're going to submit all of those records. The issue comes when you have somebody that was like so many of us, that was super proud, and we wore that little chip on our shoulders, and it was like, yeah, you know, I have insomnia. It's terrible. It's like being drunk all the time. When you don't sleep more than like 4 hours, it's like science. So if you don't have any type of documentation from the military because you were just that tough cookie, what will end up happening is, if you do believe that one of your ails is related to your military service, then we're going to have to do a nexus letter. And a nexus letter just basically says, you know, from point A to point B, these dots are connected. So I guess an easy example would be like you have a 60-something-year-old vet who has been a hard charger. He was in the Marines. He was in the Marines, and we all know how it was back even 15 and 20 years ago. So he was a lot longer, and nobody went to sick hall, and nobody cared, and maybe something happened, you know, during a deployment, whatever the case is. He didn't want to take the time, and he has some sort of issue with his bones, his knees. A lot of times it's going to be musculoskeletal. And how about the invisible wounds, the ones that we never ever talk about because we don't, because that also has been a source of pride issues. So a nexus letter is something that would be a letter from your doctor at some point that says, hey, you know what, this probably is related. This can, he was in war, so this PTSD symptom, that is probably a cause of it, now that he's a botanist or works at Home Depot or whatever the case is. There's several examples that we can use, but the main takeaway from all of that stuff is going to be that you make sure that you get a DS login, that you have your DD-214, that you have your medical records. Any other follow-on documents that you are going to require, you're going to have to access, meaning demographic documents, your birth certificate, your child's birth certificate, all of your divorces, because we all get a few of them while we're in. It's like how you get promoted, I think. So you have to have all of these documents, and that's a part of initially applying and filing for that claim. If that part seems so overwhelming, that is understandable. So what you can do is you can use a VSO. You just Google Veteran Service Officer, or you can go to the VA website and you can look up VSOs. VSOs are the trained, like they've got certs and stuff. You have to take a test. I definitely am not interested in that. Costs money. A lot of the VFW or whatever, they will pay for somebody to do that. And you can have like what they call an accredited claims agent. And that's somebody that will just do all of this work for you, which is fine. There is nothing wrong with that. I just didn't see a point because I can do that. And this process is not that difficult. When you're filing for an issue, the initial claims that I was seeing people submitting, it would be like right arm pain. You don't have to be a medic for any of this stuff. So main takeaway is you need to do your Ebenefits login. If you have that, check. If you have already gotten your DD-214, you can check that block. And if you have all of your medical records, check that block. In addition to those medical records, what you need to have is have it uploaded to a PDF file. I thought that was going to be like challenging. It's not. It's just got to be searchable. If you haven't heard the phrase Control F, that's how most of the doctors, when they are getting your claim and they're reviewing what type of exam you're going to require, if any, they are going to do Control F with whatever medical records have been sent to them. And they're going to look for corroborating evidence. If there's not any of that evidence, they're probably going to schedule another exam. If there's not any studies, same thing. And by studies, I mean x-rays, MRIs, some sort of psychiatric evaluation, whatever it is that gives us that diagnosis, whether it's a clinical diagnosis, like by just a doctor saying, hey, we don't have to do a bone scan, but, this looks like shin splints. Or if it's, a blood test, like, hey, you do have rheumatoid arthritis, whatever the case is. So once you get all of those medical records and you get them scanned in, or you give them to your VSO, that's when the real claims process starts. You would like to get everything done at once, but guess what? Every time that you add something else, it's not going to kick it back out of the chute. It's just adding another item to your claim. If you can do one shot, one kill, that's perfect. Sometimes it's not possible. I can say that my case was definitely one of those because I had to have different things going on. They had to redo all of my ortho stuff. I had to have a bunch of other evaluations done, even though I was less than a year out from an ETS when I had all of that. I had only been out for a short period of time, but they still had to go through that. And there's reasons for that, and you'll find out more when we look at the exams and the 38 CFR, because the 38 CFR, those are your regulations that tell a VA doctor or a VA worker who is assigning those percentages, that 38 CFR is basically the rule book. So if you go in for an exam and they say, hey, your knee only bends at 90 degrees and it's due to whatever injury. The VA worker who is going to get all this information from the provider post-exam, they're going to look in their book and they're going to be like, okay, lower extremity, all right, we have this. Doesn't bend beyond 90 degrees, that's 30% disability rating for one leg, or whatever the case is. That's not, I'm using that as an example. So there are several like that, and we'll look at some of those to include the mental evaluations. I think that's what gives everybody such anxiety. It did me, because you're talking about stuff that you don't want to talk about in the first place. You never wanted to talk about stuff in the first place, but you know, sometimes the universe puts us in a place where we need to be to learn and grow, and not to just exist, to thrive instead of just survive. I love that phrase. So anyhow, if you have any other questions, let me know. Hit the subscribe button so every time that a new video comes up, you'll be able to get some more information. And my public health goal is to make sure that people don't suffer like me, and that we as a community of veterans take care of each other, which we usually do, but we really can here. Information is so powerful, and getting us all on the same page, oh man, we're unstoppable. So keep learning, keep growing, and just let me know what else you guys need, and hit the subscribe button so you can see the next updates. And please, please, please share this with other people that need the information. Thank you. Bye.